Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, April 4th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by my good friend Jonah Booker in just a moment. Tons of good stuff to get into. Buckeyes finishing up their third week of spring ball. We will have the spring game next Saturday. Yes, it's a spring game, not a spring showcase. So we've already gleaned a lot during spring ball so far. What's kind of stood out? We're going to start off, Jay Book and I are going to start off the show talking about the O-line. We got to talk with Tyler Bowen, the new offensive line coach, yesterday, who I could not be more impressed with. And we got to talk to 12 of the offensive linemen. So it was a big day over there, and I just love the depth on this offensive line, particularly in the interior. So we're going to go deep about that. What about some second-year guys that are stepping up that we haven't been talking a lot about? Some second-year guys that aren't going to be starters, but maybe are going to be playing bigger roles, and maybe I haven't been talking about them enough. You know, like a guy like, for example, Eric Mensah, redshirt freshman defensive tackle, lost his black stripe yesterday. Could he help? Could he be a guy that could add some depth in there if need be? Before we do that, before I bring in the one and only, the all-star, Jay Book, what you guys know again about Timeline. It's a great product. I've been using it. Timeline's Might Appear supplements are the best supplements for healthy aging. I've been using them for just over 3 weeks now. I can already tell a difference. Can't you guys tell? So why is taking Timeline's Might Appear supplements important to me? I feel stronger during my workouts. I recover quicker after working out. I have more energy, period, and I want to support my cellular health. Speaking of which, cellular health is the foundation of well-being and longevity. These Might Appear tablets from Timeline recharge your cells and support any goals you have by making your systems work better. And here's the deal we can get you. Timeline is offering 10% off your order of Might Appear. Go to timeline.com/bucknuts to get 10% off. That's timeline.com/bucknuts to get 10% off. timeline.com/bucknuts to get 10% off. There you go. I think I need the product a little bit more than J-Book, but maybe just a tad. I don't know. Maybe a tad I need it more than you, young fella. How you doing on a Friday, my friend?
Hey, it's Friday, and Buckeyes are back on the field tomorrow's scrimmage, and then spring game next week. So couldn't be happier.
Heck yeah, man. Less than 3 weeks from the NFL draft. We'll get into some of that. I keep posting these mock drafts to Bucknuts. It's interesting, man. They're just going to take over that second day. I don't know how many. They probably have 1 or 2 first rounders, and they're just going to take over rounds 2 and 3. It's going to be awesome, which will be exactly 3 weeks from today. All right. Offensive line, man, this is an impressive group. They're deeper than really I expected. They did a good job in the portal getting Onionwa and Daniels. You and I have talked about that. And they have a lot of guys coming back with experience. They got a lot of guys coming up who they like, who maybe Jay Book didn't get a lot of fanfare during the recruiting process. All 4 of the guys in that 2024 class, so the Armstrong twins, we all thought, okay, these guys have a high ceiling. But Ian Moore, even Gabe Van Sickle, they like all 4 of those guys. So then, and you have all the guys coming back like Hinsman and Montgomery and Saraveld and Shabola and all those guys. They got a ton of playing time on the national championship team. Started. All those guys are back. So, man, I just could use a little better depth at tackle. That's why they have Saraveld out there repping there. But, man, I really like this depth on the O-line.
Yeah, it's a lot of guys that you were probably looking at coming into the season that said, hey, if that second wave of guys can step up, then you're going to feel really good about this offensive line, because you obviously feel great about the interior. There's been a lot of talk that Carson Hinsman's kind of that leader in the room right now, a guy that's been performing really well. Has some people, and it's been mentioned on Bucknuts, that Carson Hinsman, a lot of people look at him as definitely an NFL caliber type of center, a guy who has gotten stronger. And he's a testament to what you're looking for in this program, Dave Hinsman, a guy that was kind of in the doghouse coming out, going into that bowl game against Missouri several years back. In today's age, when adversity hits a lot of these kids, they'd up and leave with the snap of a finger. But not Hinsman. He put his head down, he grinded, had a really good year on the national championship team. Now he has the potential to be the anchor of this offensive line and play himself into being an NFL offensive lineman. Now, you mentioned some of those younger guys. I really like Philip Daniels, man. He is a character.
He
You
is.
guys, you talk to
Yes.
him, and he is very animated. I think someone in the media asked him about that moment when he realized, like, hey, you're with the big dogs now. You're here in Columbus, and he goes, "What do you say? I stepped out on the field and I see the athleticism from Jeremiah Smith and Jelani Thurman and Arvell Reese," and he was like, "Holy smokes!" I am. He's like, "This is different. This is different compared to where I come from." I thought that was fascinating.
You're right. Yeah, he really was. This is my first time getting a chance to know him at all. I mean, I knew he started 4 games for Minnesota last year and played well in those 4 starts, and he's probably going to be the starting right tackle. Ian Moore's not going to go down without a fight. There's a chance Sareveld could play right
Hmm.
tackle as well. I think Oniana was locked in as left tackle, but you're right. It was cool getting to know Ethan too. Ethan's a very mature, intelligent young man. No surprise, Rice is a great academic institution. His other options coming out were a bunch of Ivy League schools, and Oniana was dropped 30 pounds
Yeah.
almost 30 pounds. He's dropped already. He's down to 335. That's exactly where they want him. But you're right, Philip Daniels, man. He looks physically strong. He's a guy, he kind of joked around. He's like, they wanted me. I came in at 320. I thought that was good. That's what I played at. I thought I played well. I wanted to get stronger, but stay at 320. They're like, no, we want you to go down to 315. He's like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then he's like, but of course he did it. And he's like, oh, I can feel a little lighter on my feet. You're right.
Yeah.
Very charismatic, and can be a possible mauler there at right tackle. So, but yeah, man, he's got a lot of personality for sure.
Yeah, hearing Ethan talk about how he dropped 30 pounds since he arrived from Rice. And I saw that you tweeted that, and I responded. I was like, these transfers, they come in here, Dave, and it's like they get their bodies put into a laboratory dealing with Coach Mick. I mean, you look at Ethan, you look at CJ Donaldson, who said he's dropped a ton of weight when Will Howard first arrived. That was one of the things he said, getting into the strength and conditioning and nutrition program, he dropped a ton of weight. So you're starting to see like a lot of these transfers come in here and they get acclimated to this the Ohio State way, and they're like, man, they start flexing. They start like what CJ Donaldson say, like, I feel like I'm Flash out there. I've dropped so much weight with the strength and conditioning program. But yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation that was had with the offensive line. Ian Moore was great. I thought Ian Moore description of what it's like to guard or try to block Arvell Reese when he comes off the edge. Moore said Arvell Reese is by far the most athletic player he has ever seen in his life, and that's a testament considering the amount of talent that's in that Ohio State locker room. Just saying that Arvell Reese coming off the edge is ridiculous. You better believe that Matt Patricia is going to have some packages for Arvell coming off that edge there. And then it's great to hear about those younger guys. I mean, Gabe Van Sickle, as you mentioned, he was a lot of people kind of viewed him as a potential project, but the fact that they're really confident that he's going to be a guy that's up and coming in the trenches, you have to feel really good about that. The one overwhelming thing that I really took note was how the offensive line coaches or the players praise their coach, and not only Tyler Bowen, but the assistant coaches that they were able to hire in the offseason to kind of work with it. So they do have three guys working with the offensive line, and to hear those younger guys kind of praise the teaching and the coaching and the developing in the relationship with those three coaches, I thought that was really cool.
Man, Tyler Bowen, the early returns could not be better. Recruiting, I think he's doing a fantastic job. He's hit the ground running. He's got a great personality without being like too overboard. He's just one of those guys that you would describe him as real. He's just a cool guy to talk
Yeah.
to. Guy that has Big Ten experience, a guy that's from Georgia, which is great considering the talent there. I love what he's doing recruiting, Jay Book. And I love what
Hmm.
he's saying about the offensive line. The proof will be in the pudding. It's nice to say all these things, but he's saying, I love everything that comes out of his mouth. I encourage everybody to watch the video interview with Coach Bowen from yesterday. Only 35 years old. I would never guess that. He carries himself like an older man, but
Yeah.
I think Ryan Day knocked it out of the park with the Tyler Bowen hire.
I do too. So far, so good. I mean, you look at where they're at with the offensive line right now, and they landed the kid from Phoenix out here in my neck of the woods. And anytime you got a guy that's out here wearing cowboy boots when it's 110 degrees, Dave, you know he's an absolute mauler, big old country boy. So I really am totally impressed with what we're seeing from the recruiting, and it sounds like they have a lot more that's in the pipeline. Like we're going to get to the point now, Dave, and I'm like a kid in the candy store because when it came to the offensive line in years past, we were getting into November, December. We're looking at the watch like, man, are they going to bring in enough guys? Now, Tyler Bowen has set this offensive line room up to where you're looking at it where it's going to force the hand of a lot of recruits because I will say there's probably 7, 8 offensive linemen that has Ohio State in their top 3 right now and probably leading for a lot of those guys. Because you have 3 guys right now, the question is, do we want 5 or do we want 6? And if you want 5, you're going to see some of these guys start to feel the pinch because Ohio State's going to probably say, hey, we like all of you guys, and it's going to be the first one who commits to secure their spot. And you're talking about, hey, we're going into the season with 5 offensive linemen, quality offensive linemen. That right there is something that we have not seen, Dave, in a long time. And I said it on Bucknuts. He might be the best recruiter that we've seen at the offensive line, and I don't know how long. And here's the great thing about it. Ohio State has been one of the most dominant college football programs for, decades. But Ohio State has never had a lights out recruiter at the offensive line. Now, that's a scary signal for the rest of college football to where you look at Ohio State and say, hey, they have been running things. They have been dominant for years, but they haven't really recruited the offensive line well. Now you add into the fact that, hey, them boys are recruiting lights out on the O-line. Now you better watch out because that was the one small spot that they weren't able to get right. If they're getting that right now, college football's in trouble. It's in trouble because it all starts in the trenches. And if you got some monsters, high blue chips, like you're recruiting the wide receiver in the defensive back position, you got that coming to the offensive line, they don't want to see it, Dave.
It's a fantastic point, Jonah. Fantastic point. Because you think of, well, they've landed their share of big time prospects. Yeah, but it's like a guy like Paris Johnson Jr. that was from Ohio.
Yeah.
Where's the and they go across the country and get big time prospects at every other position, but not the offense. It's a great point. And it doesn't have to be 5-star guys. I like what he's doing. It can be guys that are 3 stars, maybe that are underrated, 4 stars, but he's going to land his share of 5 stars, I think, as well. So I love how he's locking down the state of Ohio. He's got the top 2 linemen in the state of Ohio. Both his kids are really good players. I love the kid from your neck of the woods. I think he's a little underrated. He's a 3-star, right?
Yeah, he's a 3-star right now, but I think he battles some injuries. I think Tom Lemon or something from ESPN who does recruiting, obviously take recruiting from ESPN with a grain of salt. But he did say that once this kid is healthy, he believes that he has the potential to be an All-American at the next level. That's how high he is with him. So now that this kid's kind of back healthy, he has the potential to be really good. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see his rankings climb. And I don't know if he's going to do the camp circuit. I heard some people say that he didn't participate a lot in the camp circuits. And I think a large part of that was because he wanted to get back healthy. If he's healthy and he does participate in a couple camps and he goes out and show up, he's going to be one of those guys that climb really fast. And everybody's going to be looking at it at, once again, Ohio State's in early on the prospect before he blows up.
And that'll make Tyler Bowen look even better. If all of a sudden this kid, the one kid they kind of took a chance on, a flyer on, actually they didn't take a flyer on him. He ends up, Tyler Bowen just identified him early, ended up being like a 4-star, whatever it turns out. That'll make Bowen look even better. All right. Let's take a look at some second-year guys that maybe I haven't been talking about enough. I don't want to speak for anybody else. It feels like they just haven't been talked about enough, period. But I certainly haven't been talking about some of these guys enough. We've been talking about some second-year guys. Obviously James Peoples looks great as the #1 running back. Edric Houston played a lot as a true freshman. Now he's a starter. We've talked a lot about these guys. Jalen McLean's another one we've talked a lot about. I think we've talked about a wide receiver who's going to enter his second year named Jeremiah Smith a little bit. But let's talk about the other wide receiver from that class. Kind of gets overshadowed a little bit by JJ, and that's Mylan Graham. Jermaine on Facebook. Mylan Graham can he break into the lineup of the trio? Here's what I'll say, then I'll turn it over to J-Book. I'm hearing good things about Mylan Graham. I'm hearing he's playing very well during spring. and I'm looking forward to seeing him tomorrow. And I believe in him. Entering his second year, I think he's a guy that could help. That being said, I don't think he will be in the top three unless there's an injury. I think JJ, I think Carnell, and Brandon Ennis are locked in as the top three. And he's battling a guy like Bryson Rogers to be that number 4 guy, the next guy in. So what are your thoughts, man?
I think the emergence of Mylan Graham gives them the option to be able to play 4 or 5 wide receivers this year. I always say this, Dave, and this is for all you listeners out there who follows Ohio State media. Here's a little hint: follow the clips, follow what they're showing to you. And what I mean is, if you go back throughout spring ball and you look at the Ohio State media, who do you see show up almost every week? Mylan Graham making a play. And when you start seeing them highlighting a specific player, that tells you that that kid is going to play one way, shape, or form. At minimum, they're extremely high on that wide receiver. So when you start seeing the Buckeyes social media team showing Mylan Graham making plays out there, it's strategic, number one. And number two, is telling everybody this is the next one. This is the next up and coming wide receiver who's going to be a potential baller. The other kid, too, though, that they're saying is 5-star Quincy Porter, wide receiver. They're saying he's out there. I mean, he's like a 6'4" wide receiver that's out there making some plays as well. So you're looking at it like, man, we got a 5-star Mylan Graham who people weren't really talking about because you had all-world J.J. Smith 5-star, and then you got another 6'4" wide receiver who got on campus this spring, and Quincy Porter 5-star wide receiver who's starting to make some plays as well. So you're looking at it as like, man, these battles have to be tremendous. And I know Bobby Carpenter was over there yesterday, and he tweeted out and said, this was another heated practice. And the one thing that makes me smile about that, because he mentioned the younger guys are the ones who are really buying in, that's doing a lot of barking. And these younger guys are not afraid of the big stage, and they're making plays. Once you start getting these freshmen and second-year players, Dave, like you talked about, confident, and they're out there making plays, it just makes your roster that much deeper. And sorry to go off on a little tangent here. I was listening to Kirby Smart, and Kirby Smart was talking. And the one thing that Kirby Smart said that has really hurt them when it comes to NIL is before at a place like Georgia, where you can just recruit, 4 and 5 stars, and you can just load them up and you're 3 deep at every position with nothing but 4 and 5 stars. That's the way it used to be. Now it's not like that. So he's saying we're forced to play guys who aren't necessarily ready, who would have probably never played or saw meaningful snaps even 3 years ago. Well, what you got now at a place like Ohio State is, yes, we are adjusting to what the NIL and the transfer portal are, but they have now created a culture to where you don't hear Ryan Day saying, well, we're not 3 deep like we used to. You know what they saying? They're saying, hey, if you're good enough to play here, if you're good enough to be on scholarship here, you're good enough to play here. So every day is a battle there. And because the culture is now at a place to where every day is an absolute battle, and you got these young guys biting, like John Cooper used to say, now you're starting to say, hey, I feel good about that young guy. I feel confident that if I can get him in the game in the third quarter against a Wisconsin on the road, that we're not going to have a drop off, because he went against the best wide receiver room in all of college football, and this kid battled. So if you're able to go into practice and you're battling against a wide receiver room loaded with nothing but 5 stars, just imagine what you're going to experience when you go play against other Big Ten teams. The competition is not going to be as fierce. So I love the fact that you have these young first year, second year guys embracing the competitive spirit of it and just absolutely fighting their tails off left and right. And I love that Devin Sanchez took it personal when he lost to Davison Igbinosun in winter workouts. And now Sanchez is saying that he gets on himself if he gets beat by one of these wide receivers, and he's telling himself it's not going to happen again. That's the mentality that you want from these young guys, that they take it personal if I get beat, and they want to. And when they make a play, they're going to let you have it. They're going to let you know all about it.
And it's perfect timing with these freshmen coming in like they are, like ready to play, because like they don't necessarily, any of them need to be starters, but some of them need to like be second teamers at the very least, and like add quality depth, because they're losing so many guys, and they've got some talented guys back, some very talented guys back, obviously,
Yeah.
With Caleb Downs being the best defensive player in college football, but the depth wouldn't be where you would want it if not for these freshmen, if not for Devin Sanchez. Here's the guys that I have no doubt are going to play meaningful roles. Again, you don't need them to be starters unless maybe somebody gets hurt, but guys that are going to play meaningful roles. I think Devin Sanchez is going to play more than any other true freshman this year. I think Fahim Delane's going to play. Again, not as a starter, but I think he'll be on the 2 deep. I think Devin Sanchez will be on the 2 deep, but will rotate in the game and play like a decent amount of snaps at outside corner. Obviously, IGB and Jermaine are going to be the starting corners. They're loaded. It's so much fun talking about this. You have Caleb Downs back there. Another freshman that's definitely going to play, as you know, is Riley Pettijohn. He'll be on the 2 deep at linebacker. I won't be surprised if TJ Alford plays as well. He'll definitely play on special teams. And then Zion Grady. That's 5 right there on defense that I guarantee will play right away.
They were raving about Zion Grady this week, and Zion Grady is a guy who came in, and you were just saying, hey, if we can get something out of him, then great, you'll be happy with it. But now you're talking about, hey, this kid can bend the edge, like he's doing some things out there, and you start to add him into the mix. Peyton Pierce, who they're saying is an absolute headhunter. I had somebody said that Peyton Pierce will absolutely knock your block off in the middle, and that gets me fired up to say, hey, a guy coming in as a sophomore, they say he's like your prototypical true linebacker that James Norlatis really loved, and he will absolutely lay the lumber coming out of Texas. So you have to think that he's going to play in certain packages as well, because you're not going to have Sonny and Arvell playing 100% of the snaps. You're going to have to be able to get some solid minutes from a Peyton Pierce and a Riley Pettijohn. Who else you see? I mean, Aaron Scott, Bryce West, 2 second-year guys.
I've talked a lot about Aaron Scott. I won't be surprised if this is nothing against Aaron Scott, because he looks really good. I kind of had him penciled in as that number 3 outside corner, and then Devin would be number 4. I wouldn't be surprised if Devin is 3 and Aaron's 4, but good position to be in. A couple of 5-star studs that look like NFL corners right now, especially Devin. Devin looks like he's like the size of an NFL corner and the maturity of an NFL corner right now. Certainly. And then Bryce West is definitely a guy I've not been talking about. Thank you enough. Been talking about him. He's right now the number 2 slot corner, and they like him a lot. Like Lorenzo Styles Jr. as a 5th-year senior right now is going to be, replacing Jordan Hancock. Big shoes to fill. And might play a kind of a different role than Hancock did, because Lowe Jr. is not quite as fast as Jordan, who ran a 4.42 at Pro Day. But Lorenzo Jr. is the nickel, and then backing him up is Bryce West. He's going to play a lot. So, Bryce West is another one. Aaron Scott. You mentioned Peyton Pierce, that James Laurinaitis just absolutely gushed about. I mean, they have a clear top 3 at linebacker. No doubt about it, with Sonny, obviously, Arvell, and Peyton Pierce. And they love now the question is who's going to be number 4. My money would be on Riley Pettijohn or TJ Alford, probably Pettijohn. So, so those are some of the guys. There's one more I want to get to of second-year guys that might be coming of age. One guy that I have not been talking about at all, who maybe he can add some depth, and maybe he can crack the 2 deep and add some depth. We'll get into that. Before we do that, I'll let you know about Mando and a great deal you guys can get. Mando is America's number 1 whole body deodorant for men. I highly recommend it. If you've been using the same deodorant for years, maybe decades like I was, it's time to try something new and better. That's where Mando comes into play. Do you want to try America's number 1 whole body deodorant right now? You can find the products at Walmart, Target, Meijer, and other retailers across the country. For the best deals, still go to shopmando.com. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant. That's what this is. 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash, whatever else you would like, and then free shipping. So you get all that plus free shipping. And we can get you guys a good deal on it. As a special offer for Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code Bucknuts at shopmando.com. SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Use code Bucknuts at shopmando.com. Get yourself $5 off. All right, man. Listen, you've always said, "Hey, Dave, you're no Mensa candidate." I'm like, "Come on, man. That's kind of mean to say." And then I realized you're right, because I haven't talked enough about Eric Mensa. Got his black stripe removed yesterday. Big guy. I was noticing over there. It was the previous time we were out there. I'm like, "Who's that?" Because they had that time they were just getting some work in after practice. He had his pads, still had his shoulder pads on, but had his jersey off. Maybe he has pads off too. And I'm like, "That's a big boy. So that's a large human over there." I like my D tackles. I don't mind if I have a D tackle with a floppy belly and a big booty. I like huge. I like that. I like them to be a little bit out of shape. I'm like, that kid looks like he could help us out. Eric Mensa. 2 days later, he gets his black stripe removed, and they're talking him up. Now they're not talking him up like he's going to be a starter, but Eric Mensa is a redshirt freshman. He's about 315 pounds. He was a decent. I think he was a 4-star recruit, and he's a guy that they think can help maybe this year as a backup D tackle. J Book.
Yeah, Mensa was the kid that they flipped from Virginia Tech, I believe.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he was a Virginia Tech commit, and they got in late on him too because they needed another body. So this one might turn out to be a pretty good pickup. So that's definitely good to hear, because they mentioned Eric Mensa this week. Last week, Tywan Malone's name was thrown out there. I'll tell you this, Dave. I'm glad that you mentioned Lorenzo Styles, because what Lathan Ransom, did you hear what Lathan Ransom said about him this week? I thought it was so. Lathan Ransom said Lorenzo probably has the most confidence out of any player in that entire locker room. And they asked Styles about that, and he said, well, I thought it was awesome. He said, when you come in to a locker room like Ohio State, he goes, there is so much talent. And he goes, I always, had belief that I should be on the field. But he said you almost had to kind of have a era of delusion to think like you're one of the best players on that field and in that locker room, and have that confidence in yourself to say, hey, I'm good enough. I'm better than everybody here. And I thought that was great, that where the players are saying Lorenzo's confidence is through the roof. Like, this guy literally thinks he's the best DB in all of college football. And he's like, you know what? You got to kind of have that delusion when you walk in switching from wide receiver from Notre Dame to Ohio State and say, hey, in order for me to get on the field, I have to have this self-confidence. And it's almost like you're talking to yourself in your head and you're hyping yourself up like, I'm one of the best out here. And now you see Styles is in a position to be a key contributor, especially in that nickel role, like you mentioned, replacing Jordan Hancock. So I thought that was great. The other two battles to keep an eye on that a lot of people are saying it is really heating up, and Coach Dave mentioned it, is Sam Williams-Dixon and Bo Jackson. Probably a battle for that third running back position. I think that's one to keep an eye on, because they are really bullish on both of those guys. And the fact that Bo Jackson, as a true freshman, is coming in, turning some heads, and the head coach is mentioning him as someone who has kind of gave him some wows. I really love that running back room, because you got your CJ Donaldson, James People. Those are going to be your two backs. Now you have Bo Jackson and Sam Williams-Dixon, who they're saying, hey, we like what we're seeing from both of these guys. Both of those two guys are making some plays, turning some heads. So now all of a sudden, this is your true definition of iron sharpens iron, because they are battling for that third running back position. And whoever wins that spot, they're going to get touches, because it's going to be a long haul. You expect this team to be in the playoffs. You're not going to run Donaldson and Peoples into the ground. So you're going to have to rely on potentially on that third and fourth running back. So I think it's fascinating that they're saying, hey, those two guys have a heated battle going on. So those are two guys that I can't wait to see in the spring game, to see who's going to break it off, because Sam Williams-Dixon's last year, he broke off some long runs in the spring game that a lot of people were, like, ooh, who's this kid? And he was like, oh, it's a local kid that a lot of people really weren't high on, but the kid was clearly talented.
Yeah, I'm glad he came back. Really, I mean, you just never know at running back. They were very fortunate last year, not only to have a fantastic 1-2 punch, but they stayed healthy too.
Yeah.
James Peoples, I think, would have got the job done if need be. He was the number 3 tailback, but they didn't really need him that much because obviously Q and Trey stayed healthy. Speaking of Q and Trey, let's end the show on this. I just posted. I didn't do it. I just posted a mock draft. I think Field Yates from ESPN does a solid job. Does a lot of research. And he has one Buckeye going in the first round, Donovan Jackson. He said Josh Simmons would be a top 10 pick if not for the knee. He's here, and some NFL scouts think he might now be a second-round pick because they're not sure about the knee. But he's got 6, including Simmons. He's got 6 Buckeyes going in the second round. They're going to dominate the second round. And then that would leave he doesn't have Tyleek Williams and Jack Sawyer listed in the second round, so that would leave guys like that for the third round. They're going to absolutely dominate the second night of the draft. I keep calling it the second day. It's exactly 3 weeks from today. I love it. And 3 weeks from today, we're going to be talking about the first round of the draft on the show right here because that's going to be, 3 weeks from yesterday. I love the NFL draft. I know you do as well. You think they're going to break the record, tie the record with 15 guys taken? And just your thoughts overall on when some of the guys are rising and falling?
I think they're going to have an opportunity. I thought Josh Fryer, from all indications, sounds like he had a really good pro day, and some of the metrics that he put up, they said would have been amongst some of the top offensive linemen if he would have been invited to the NFL draft or to the combine. So I think he probably helped himself a lot because you and I talked about it. Fryer and Scott are the 2 guys that are on the bubble there that can probably make or break this class, breaking the all-time draft record. Now, I will say this. Ryan Day has to be at the draft live, especially for that second day. Because if you're talking about 6, maybe 7 Buckeyes drafted in that second round, you have to take advantage of that screen time, especially because a lot of people are going to be watching that. And if you're seeing Ohio State, constantly going off the board, and that's usually live, you want to be able to at least have Ryan Day sitting to talk. If he's not in the green room with his players, at least get him on that kind of that panel that they usually have, like a lot of the coaches sit on. And I believe Nick Saban kind of sit on the panel for a couple rounds. And then they had what's his name? The coach from Stanford, used to be for Stanford, Shaw. I think they had Shaw. He used to sit on there. If Ryan Day can get on that panel, I think that would be huge for free advertisement for the program. So I do think that they're going to push that record, and I think it's going to come down to Josh Fryer or Scott getting drafted.
Got some questions in the draft will start Thursday the 24th, and we'll run. Then we'll have OB Friday the 25th, and then the third and final day will be Saturday the 26th. We had our good friend Asian Posh.
I think Will Howard. I think Will Howard goes on John Gruden this week for the quarterback thing.
Field Yates had him in the second round.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, to the Saints.
Wow, I didn't know Will Howard was getting second round love.
I was out there on a limb. I said I think there's a chance that he's going to go in the second round. Good chance that he's going to go in the second round because weak quarterback draft. He's got the intangibles with his leadership skills. Maybe that's a tangible. And then he's got NFL prototype NFL size. He's mobile enough. And what he did in the playoff, the film, now he's got the film because it was like, well, he can't really throw the deep ball. He's shown he can now. He needs to be more consistent with it.
Yeah.
6'4", 240 pounds. He's not a knucklehead. He's going to be a leader of men. I can see him being a second round pick. That's not even that. I mean, late second round is not even that. Third round's probably what's going to happen, but I'll stick with my guns and say second round. I like that Field Yates back me up on that. That's probably the only reason I'm talking Field Yates up. Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say, before we get off here, here's a hilarious thing that I've seen several mock drafts. Speaking of it, I was just going to say Jack Sawyer. I've seen him mock to the Detroit Lions several times because Aiden Hutchinson's coming off his injury and they have a lack of pass rushers there. Ooh. The one guy that the Michigan faithful absolutely despise and go out of their way to try to trash, and they're saying that he may get drafted to the Lions to play alongside Aiden Hutchinson.
I'm booing just the idea of that. That's hilarious. He just Bengals seems right for him. So now
It does.
Foolishly, maybe it'll help the Bengals out. Mika was talking about this. Like a lot of people think that Sawyer, including Field Yates, is going to slide to the third round now. Because it's this draft, from the middle of the second round or first round till about like middle of the third round, like a lot of NFL scouts are saying these guys are just bunched together. From 20th in the first round to like 15th in the third round, those guys are all bunched together. So Sawyer could go to the third round. It could be like a Sam Hubbard just retired. Bring Sawyer in as a third round pick. I would love it. All right.
Dan Rubin's hoping that Henderson or Judkins drop to the Cowboys.
Field Yates has Henderson at 44 to the Cowboys. Actually had Quinshon going 3 picks ahead of that at 41. I can't remember who he had him going to. We had Quinshon going 41st. I agree with that. I like both of them a lot, obviously. If I was an NFL team and I had to take one or the other, I'd be happy either way. I would take Quinshon over Trey, though, just because he's a 3-down back.
Right.
And has not had durability issues.
All right, my friend.
All right, bud.
That's another good one.
Appreciate you. I was going to put you on the spot with Q versus Trey, but no, you don't need to pick between your children. Congratulations on the puppy. Go give Pickles a walk, and we'll talk to you next Friday, my friend.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. He's the man. He is Jonah Booker. Just got him and his bride and his son. They just got a puppy. So that's cool stuff. We love dogs here on the Bucknuts Morning 5, as you guys know. We love dogs. We love you guys. We love J-Book. Thanks to J-Book. Thanks to all of you. Again, huge day tomorrow, Student Appreciation Day, and it's open to the media as well. So we're going to have videos. They're going to have a scrimmage. Again, I don't know exactly what that scrimmage is going to entail. Hopefully we see some real football, though. We keep hearing about all these lively practices, and they're getting really physical. Let's see it. Let's see some real football tomorrow while not getting any of our Buckeyes hurt. So that's going to start at around 11:30 a.m. tomorrow. We'll have wall-to-wall coverage. We'll be there in full force. Our Bucknuts guys will all be there. So keep it locked. We'll have a report for you. We'll have pictures, videos. Right now, Jerry's saying we're not getting any interviews, but we'll see. We'll probably get a couple interviews. So huge day tomorrow. Thanks again to J-Book. Thanks again to all of you. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend. Go Bucks.